Can my wife defend herself with my firearm? Stick around as we unpack this incredibly popular question that we get asked so much. There's a lot of ambiguity around it, and we are going to be demystifying this question, and after we've done so, I'm going to give you some practical tips and solutions to this, to give both yourself and your wife maximum benefit. Alrighty, so once again, guys, this question gets asked a lot, and I think a lot of people are doing this not knowing what the law actually says about it. So let's unpack it quickly. I'm going to try and do it as concisely as possible while giving you the information that is important here. So the first thing is, there's a couple of different laws that are going to play together over here. The first one is going to be the Firearms Control Act. We're also going to have a look at the Criminal Procedure Act and common law. So there's two aspects to this. There's the actual defensive part, and then there's the gaining access to the firearm part. Both of these are very, very important. Okay, so let's have a look at the first one. Is going to be the actual defense. Now the law is very clear on this, that you may use any means at your disposal to defend your life or the life of another if an unlawful attack has begun or is imminent. Now what this means is you can use anything. If your life is under direct attack and you basically have to decide between defending yourself and dying, you can use anything. You can, if somebody breaks into your house and points a gun at you, that is lethal force, you're allowed to respond with lethal force. You can shoot them with a gun, you can stab them with a knife, you can hit them with a cricket bat, you can throw a chair at them, you can hit them with a watermelon, you can push them out of a 5-story window. It doesn't matter. You're allowed to use any means at your disposal. Okay, that's the actual defensive part. Now, what the Firearms Control Act says about firearms and how to store them properly, first of all, the firearm license holder may not allow anybody else access to their safe and their firearm, especially when they are not around. Okay, so that's the first thing. The Firearms Control Act does also say that you're allowed to allow somebody to use your firearm under your direct supervision, where it is safe to do so, and for any lawful purpose. So I think this is what confuses people. Let's paint a quick little scenario. You are in a gunfight, you go down, your wife picks up your gun and defends herself further. 100% lawful and legitimate, because, as we know now, the law states that you can use any means at your disposal to defend yourself, which is, that's a clear-cut self-defense case. The problem here comes in when you leave the keys to your safe at home with your wife while you go away on business or whatever it might be. This invites legal trouble into the scenario. Okay, so first and foremost, the first problem with this is you are putting your spouse in an incredibly cuck situation where you are giving them access to a gun which they are potentially going to use to defend themselves. They have got absolutely no proper knowledge of the law, basically, for which they are going to be measured against and which they are going to be judged against. So they might very well perceive a situation incorrectly as a self-defense situation where they would need a firearm. They use that firearm. That might be murder, because they don't have a proper understanding of the law. They haven't done their competency or their proficiency training. They haven't got their competency. They haven't received training on the relevant acts for which they will, or against which they will be measured and judged. They also probably haven't received professional firearm training. Now, taking them to the range once or twice and getting them to point and shoot, guys, that is not professional training. And you are putting them in a situation where they are going to be massively disadvantaged in terms of knowledge of the law and tactical application of the actual use of that firearm. So that's the first reason why I don't recommend doing this. The second thing is that you are breaking the Firearms Control Act by allowing your wife access to your safe while you're not there. So if they do end up using that firearm, right, even if the shooting itself is lawful, you've broken the Firearms Control Act. So now all of a sudden, you are more than likely going to be declared incompetent or unfit to possess a firearm, you might very well lose all of your firearms, and at least best case scenario for the next 5 years you won't be able to get a new competency and you won't be able to get more gun licenses. Now you can see that is not a great situation to be in. Okay, over and above that, the second that your wife, and I say wife, it's partner, just wife just to keep it simple. Okay, I haven't misgendered anyone or whatever you weirdos are up to nowadays. But you are putting them in a situation where they are gaining essentially unlawful access to a firearm. Now, I'm not saying that they will be charged with this, but it does certainly open the door to risk where they might be charged with unlawful possession of a firearm. Now, guys, that's a serious offense. That carries a 15-year jail sentence. So, for these reasons, the fact that they don't have knowledge of the law, they haven't received proper training, you are allowing them unlawful access to that firearm, so you're breaking the Firearms Control Act, and you're putting them in a situation where they might very well be in unlawful possession of a firearm. It's unnecessary, and it's not a great situation. I know sometimes, like in theory, it sounds fantastic, and yes, I'm going to be honest, if I had to choose between potentially overstepping a law and having my family safe, I think any rational person would choose that. Their family is safe. However, it doesn't have to be that way. There is a solution here that basically is going to empower you, your wife, and it's going to allow you to do so without breaking any laws. And that is going to be that you send them on their proficiency training. You allow them to apply for a competency certificate, or not allow them, but they apply for a competency certificate. First prize is that they go and license their own firearm. Obviously, there's a whole host of benefits to that. Second to that, let's say, for example, you're under a budget constraint or something like that. You can dual license a firearm. Now, what this means is that you guys both get a license for that same gun. One gun, 2 licenses, and that will allow you to use that firearm independently of one another. So you go away on a business trip, your wife is at home alone, she has got every legal right to use that firearm. All of a sudden, a much better situation, yes. So the process to that is very similar as the main license holder would have gone through to get their license. Proficiency training, competency, you apply for the license. An additional license holder goes through the same proficiency training step. They also get their competency, and then they apply to be an additional license holder. There's a couple of parameters that you need to basically work within. You have to be living at the same address. The license has to be under the same class. So if you've got a self-defense license for that gun, your wife will also need to get a self-defense license for that gun. If it is the only gun in the home, you guys are allowed to share a safe. If, let's say, this is your second handgun, you will need to get a second safe which you and your wife have access to, because once again, the Firearms Control Act is very clear on the fact that you are not allowed to gain access to somebody else's safe, and they're not allowed to gain access to your weapons. So yeah, I hope that clears this up. It's maybe not the information that you want to hear, but it is the truth, and we always want to put you in the best situation possible. Now, as always, we are massive supporters of Firearms Guardian. They will allow you to use your firearm with confidence, and if you are ever bullied or charged criminally in a situation, they will be there to basically help you out. If you would like to get a gun, you haven't started the process just yet, you can have a look at this video where we cover the process from A to Z, and hopefully we will make that a little bit easier for you. Thank you for watching. Catch you next time. Cheers.